So I'm here with Dave Husak, CEO and founder of Plexxi. Dave, great to have you here.
Thank you, Michael.
You're enjoying the Structure Conference and the California blue sky.
Yes.
So obviously there's a lot of talk here about the incredible growth that's going on in cloud, and that came out in our survey, but it's not that easy to actually achieve that. And at the end of the day, this is all got to be supported by real scalable infrastructure.
Certainly.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to actually enable that?
Certainly. Plexxi is building cloud scale and enterprise scale data center switching gear, networking equipment. A combination of switches that are connected by an innovative optical interconnect, plus a controller that expresses a very high level abstract interface for network workloads that makes them portable and fluid across lots of different infrastructures.
So that portable workload is obviously a critical part of enabling the scale
Certainly.
across and scale out. So tell us a little bit about why it's important though now. I mean, like, what is it that couldn't be done before Plexxi?
Sure. Well, we sit here at a confluence of a couple of major trends, one of which is all the DevOps initiatives.
Yeah.
The idea that the ability to orchestrate and deploy, compute, storage, networking, all in sort of one package in one bite, is here now. It's being expressed through a lot of open source initiatives as well as big commercial products out there. And what Plexxi is harnessing is the fact that networking has kind of been left behind over the last decade in its ability to express an abstraction that allows it to be integrated with those other IT technologies. So in Plexxi speak, we call it our Affinity abstraction, allows us to integrate network orchestration alongside all those other technologies, bring networking up to parity.
So you're going to enable some of the things that people here are talking about as just fundamental initiatives like public and private being easily married in hybrid, or are there real challenges?
Yeah. Using our abstraction, which by the way we are contributing to a number of different open source initiatives as well, allows users to make those network workloads for the first time portable, right? The abstraction is a very simple abstraction. It is this set of stuff belongs together and that set of stuff belongs together. Those could be tenants in clouds, application instances, and enterprise networks. But I say it this way, as long as we've been building networks, we've been building affinities. It's just that historically there was never a way to express them and document them. It was always, the animating impulse from some application architect would be, I'm going to put this cluster down. The very next step was talk to a networking guy to allocate me a VLAN tag or something, and that guy would consult an Excel spreadsheet or a whiteboard and hand you off a number, right? Plexxi, by encoding Affinity and making that an abstraction and at the API level, allows us to make those network workloads for the first time documented, portable, enforceable, testable, right? And that is a key element of, like I said, making networking orchestratable and integrated with literally all the other IT technologies.
When you describe it that way, you make it sound easy, which is great, because it is a key enabler to these things. But let's pull back for a second. Clearly some of this stuff is not easy, and there's a bunch of stuff people don't talk about that's beneath the covers. So just to be controversial for a second, what's really not getting solved and what's not getting addressed in the industry that people are just ignoring?
In our space in particular, I think that the impulse around SDN and open networking are all the right impulses, right? And are being pursued by a lot of different companies, big and small, aiming at that goal that I articulated, right? Where the rubber is sort of hitting the road right now is, there's a couple $100 billion of installed Cisco kit in the world, right? Expressing legacy protocols, sort of bad on us as networking guys. We spent a couple decades delivering an alphabet soup of protocols and architectures and functionality to, that was necessary for a lot of people to build big businesses on.
And it was the best we knew at the time.
No fault. But we played that out a little too long, and everything is a snowflake now, right? Every network is different. A lot of the same protocols are used, but they're applied differently. So, where we are getting our commercial traction today is building, next generation orchestratable SDN networks, but having to sort of marry that up against existing, protocol and that sort of interoperability. It's sort of a little bit, if anybody who follows the space knows that this is not really a topic that's frequently aired out in public, and for a lot of good reasons. It's a little bit of sausage making. I think we're all going to a much happier place. But it is, I think, particularly guys that are trying to build, open flow architectures and things like that, are facing a lot of headwind today on just figuring out how to integrate, to evolve networks, to migrate networks from where they have been to where they need to go.
Right. And it's interesting you say this, I mean, because the vendors that I think get it right in this are obviously have got a tremendous potential here, but the first challenge is to make sure that the integration is there with the legacy stuff. So it's good to hear you talking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is great. Sounds like a lot of promise. What will we be talking about in a year's time?
In a year's time, I think that if we look, let's do it this way, the last year to the next year, right? Yeah. I think the last year was sort of the peak of the dialogue of SDN and open flow and open networking. I think that net of Arista's recent announcements with the 7500E platform, Cisco apparently will be launching in the Insemi product line next week at Cisco Live in Orlando. Yeah. You just had the Cumulus announcement today, the bare metal switching OS. And actually, Plexxi, we deliberately decided to go last to announce our next generation products. And I think that is going to drive a major shift in the networking dialogue from a little bit of the vaporware of SDN and what does it mean and what is it for, kind of rotating back to real scalable network architectures that can support dense multi-tenancy, affinity, application responsiveness, and all those that are real practical ways of moving these networks forward into, as we, propel ourselves to the 21st century.
You actually sound like you just pitched the Embrain story too there, because I mean they will play very well to that too. So, how do you think about them in this world?
Well, there are really two axes here, right? That sometimes get conflated. One of which is there's this sort of SDN for network engineering, right? Yeah. Which is it also is commonly talked about as NFV, network functions virtualization. It's the idea that you can, rather than buying big appliances to do application delivery controllers, firewalls, and such, you should be running those as virtual instances and having them where you need them, not a big pile of boxes in the corner, right? Yeah. And that NFV initiative is, by softwareizing that, and there's a lot of open source projects around that as well, is a great way for network engineers to continue to do their jobs better, right? Yep. Networks, even of the future, are going to have those functional aspects and those features. Yep. A lot of what I was talking about in terms of co-orchestrating networking along with other, storage, compute, application architectures, exists not in that vendor axis, but in the user axis. Yeah. Yeah. And now the two are mingled in ways, but it's important to keep those separate.
Yeah, makes good sense. Great. Well, it was very helpful.
Yeah, thank you for the time, Michael.
Great to catch up.
Pleasure.